Gamers are furious. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero Vegeta fight is destroying gamers. Uh-oh.
How's it going, everyone? So we gotta talk a little Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Uh-oh.
I think when everybody got the game, I shouldn't say everybody, I think there are some people that jumped into just playing battles with their friends, but I think a lot of people jumped into Sparking Zero right off the top. You gotta hit that single player mode, do a couple battles.
I think that a lot of people did that, and they probably did exactly what I did, is they probably played all the way through where they followed the anime. That's what I did. Like, because yesterday, I played all the way through to the Majin Buu arc, and that's where I stopped.
In there, go through Goku's campaign, and
so,
honestly
like, today is gonna be all new
guys,
stuff.
I will be real, going into this game, I had expected, okay, like, great, we got a single player component, we're just finna dust this thing in 5 seconds and then move on. Not to say that's a bad thing, like, this game's longevity is obviously gonna be driven from the multiplayer and playing with friends and everything like that, but I figured
I actually think campaigns are really important. I really do. And the reason why I think campaigns are really important is because those are the things that are going to engage a lot of the casual players. And I think that casual players are what create kind of they create the bedrock for the community. Good value proposition? Yeah. Tell that to Blizzard? Yeah, well, you need to have the story. And, like, I think also a lot of people that are Dragon Ball Z fans, like, let's be honest, a lot of the people that are probably bat-chesting about this game are balding. Like, I'm just being honest, right? I mean, yeah, there's kids that like Dragon Ball Z too, but, like, there's a lot of adults that like it as well. And so they want to go back and relive that experience they had as a kid. And so that's why the campaign is so cool.
Single player campaign would be a little bit of fun, and then we would move on. Boy, oh boy, does this single player have more to it than I realized.
There's a lot.
So you have 8 campaigns. People are going to start with Goku's campaign, and that's naturally going to be the longest of all of the campaigns available. On top of these what-if scenarios that are going down as well, which adds another layer to the story, boy, oh boy, are people getting absolutely mollywopped and obliterated by one particular fight right off the rip. Now, initially,
it is crazy because, like, whenever I saw this fight, usually the really hard boss comes, like, 3 hours into the game. This was, like, the 3rd boss. It was so fucking early on.
Fighting Raditz and then into Vegeta is not too difficult. And then you get into Vegeta's Great Ape form, and GG no re, boys. This fight seems to be pushing a lot of people to the edge. If you actually look through social media, people are bugging out about this Great Ape fight, and they're
losing their fucking minds. And the thing is that, like, Bandai Namco, I think that, they're the ones bullshit. They even said, just turn down the difficulty. That wasn't enough for some people. I'm not thinking of anybody in particular. But that wasn't enough for some people. And sometimes they had to turn it down multiple times even.
But from the standpoint where myself and I think a lot of other people were expecting to absolutely dust this campaign, this is a good thing. I think this level of challenge is great. I mean, ultimately,
I also really like it. Here's why I like it. I like it because, like, it's challenging, and, like, there isn't, like, a super hard mode version. So it's like you either had to beat it at the base level or you had to turn down the difficulty. Like, in general, I don't like difficulty sliders. I think that for a game like this, I mean, again, it's all balding 30-year-old men playing games like this, right? Or at least there's a huge contingency of them. It's fine to give them an easy mode where you can just fucking beat the boss. It's super easy. You can go through the story. You're Goku. That's fine. It's whatever, right? But at the same time, because there's no hard mode, I really like that. Because the fights are actually balanced in a way that I think is fair and fun.
Who cares if it's challenging?
Yeah.
And It should be noted that if you're playing against the Great Ape and you fail a few times, they give you the option to lower the difficulty. So it's like, if you want to go through it, you can lower the difficulty. I don't think people actually want to lower the difficulty, and I think you should try to beat the Great Ape legit. And what I've heard is some of the other fights deeper into the game are just as difficult. And maybe the complaints are so bad that this battle is a little bit too difficult. The pin dynamic...
I really don't think it's that bad. I think that if you're gonna, like, in my opinion, I thought Frieza was harder. I thought Frieza was way harder. Now, like, as soon as I learned how to do it, I think I pretty much flawless Frieza. Like, I think I got hit like one time. It wasn't a big deal, but they never got there. Yeah, and Cell Jr., that was the one that, bro, I died to him like 3 times. People can't do it, aren't charging up? Yeah. Go sparking to tick down. Yeah, you just stick them down with sparking mode. It's literally in the name. It's in the name of the game.
Is probably going to take action, and some of the AI elements are a little bit ridiculous, and the difficulty spikes. That's the issue. I think spiking the difficulty this hard is a little bit wild, but at the same time,
I personally thought Vegeta was a way harder power spike than the ape, because Vegeta was way more aggressive and way more dangerous. The ape just had a couple of unavoidable attacks, like the grab. Raditz? Yeah, I mean, no, well, you were supposed to lose that fight.
I do think, you know, it being challenging is a good thing, but
yeah,
there's a balancing act to all of this, and pretty much everybody I've spoken to, they are reiterating the same thing over and over again when it comes to this Great Ape fight, where people are absolutely losing their mind.
You put on easy mode? I didn't put on easy mode. What do you mean? No, I didn't. I did not.
Over it. I'm curious to see, as far as the rest of the campaign, how difficult it is, and I'm sure if you're a hardcore player, you're gonna be able to get through it. I have some of the gameplay of the Great Ape fight here, and ultimately, I think if you're decent at the game, you are going to be able to beat it, but I think it's a case of a lot of people were just expecting to absolutely obliterate the game at the same time, and then they...
What was the game? See, this is the thing with fighting games that a lot of people don't understand. What was the fighting game that got, like, somebody to masters by just using a pattern AI that repeated the same moveset over and over? Was that Street Fighter 6? It could have been Tekken 8. Yeah, I don't remember which one. Yeah. So it didn't get the master? Yeah, but it got really high up there. And maybe it didn't get that high. With Eddie, Tekken 8 with Eddie, exactly. And so if you're having trouble with the game, there are always going to be techniques and strategies that you can use to offset, like, you know, being less skilled, basically.
Actually play the game, and yeah, they run into a brick wall.
That's always how it works.
The issue is the initial battles are fairly straightforward, that once you get to the Great Ape fight, that, yeah, people are losing their minds, and the game is way too hard. There's a Reddit post on the Sparky Zero page that's one of the top voted posts. Okay, this game is way too hard. Look, I wasn't expecting to come in and face the entire story, but I kind of was, to be honest. I kind of was, as somebody that's played Tenkaichi, and I think a lot of people were. They were just like, all right, I'm going to go to the single-player mode and absolutely obliterate it, but holy S, this is borderline impossible. Most of these story episodes play like this. Opponent perceptions or Z vanishes 4,000 times in a row because an input reads, I get knocked back in one hit from the AI, who then uses a super and then hits me because I'm recovering. AI deals 18 quintillion damage with a standard punch. I tried to perception and they just follow up with their own perception. I try to Z vanish, but because the timing needs to be effing frame perfect, it doesn't work. I knock back the AI after my 5th attempt from a combo, since they usually Z vanish. One punch from me chips off so little health, I may as well be standing there with a straw shooting spitball. So honestly, it does feel like a lot of people are enraged with the difficulty. I don't know. In this case, I'm not... Look, and you're talking to somebody that absolutely hates brutally difficult games. Like, they are not my cup of tea. I do not get into the Souls-like games or anything like that. But maybe it's an element of the challenge was so surprising to me that it didn't bother me as much as a lot of other people. But let me know what you guys think. I am curious to hear your guys' opinion.
I think that it was fine. I think the only problem is that, in my opinion, I think the game did kind of 0 to 60 you. And I think that they should have had maybe a couple of fights that were like sparring matches with like maybe Piccolo or Krillin. And then Vegeta comes down just to like get the player into understanding what like the movesets are. I think that would have been a good idea. Because, like, you do go from fighting Raditz immediately to fighting Vegeta. And, like, I definitely was there for a minute. I was like, bro, am I going to have to turn down the difficulty mode? There is training mode. Well, I know that there's training mode. But I think also, like, if you're designing a game, you should expect people to not do that. And I think that you have to give people at least a little bit of idea of, like, how to play the game. New trailer for New World of Turnum, really? Yeah, I might look at that later on. Campaign should teach it? Yeah, just at least a little bit, right?
Opinion and where the Great Ape fight in particular stacks up, since I know most people aren't getting deeper into the campaign, and I'm really curious how it's going to build up in terms of the battles going forward, because if this fight is really hard and then the other fights, the subsequent fights, aren't as difficult, that obviously is going to be very questionable, because the Great Ape fight is obviously very on in the Z story. Like, what are we doing here?
I think that I think it really depends, because I saw people talking about this, and there were some people saying that they were stuck on this boss for a long time, and other people saying that they were stuck on Frieza for a long time. And, like, I think that's a good thing, because that's like how Elden Ring and Dark Souls is, where it's like, yeah, you're going to have people that are going to pretty much, like, cluster around the hardest bosses and think that they're the most challenging. But I think that when you have different people that are being challenged by different bosses, it means that you have, like, a different, like, because there's different types of people playing games, right? And so, like, if every boss is the same hard boss, then the game is kind of formulaic.
If that's an issue, and that's where people are having
they're very different skills. Yeah, exactly.
Goku's campaign isn't too difficult.
Like, for me, basically, like, my whole play style in this game is make distance, go into sparking mode, beat the shit out of them, finish the sparking mode with an ult, regen, do it again, do some melee attacks, maybe counter once or twice, and that's it, right? Like, that's what I did. So, like, for me, like, Cell Jr. was really hard because of how aggressive he is. And, like, I died on him a few times. So it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to have to play the game differently. And that's fine. My ape wouldn't let me make some distance. Yeah, but you can get behind the rocks. Compared to Canon, they made this fight too easy. I do think that it would be cool if they made hard mode versions of the fights. Like, later on that you unlock after you complete the campaign. I think that that would be cool.
Yeah, the Great Ape seems to be pushing people to the absolute edge. And I don't recall in previous Tenkaichi games, I'm sure that you had to fight the Great Ape in the campaign, but I don't recall it being something brutally difficult. But I played the Tenkaichi games when I was super, super young, so my recollection...
I think that back then, like, the focus was mainly on just making a fighting game. And I think that nowadays there's a lot more, like, conscious thought that goes into, like, how games are being designed. And I think that this game prioritized primarily like a character fantasy and like game, like it's not realism, right? But like the game feel, it prioritized that over balance and over like making everything, like razor close. Unique experience. Yeah, exactly. Feels like you're in DBZ.
As far as difficulty scales, and even back then, if something was super difficult, like, we were gonna no-life a game till we actually beat a boss or something like that, or beat a battle in the single-player mode.
Yeah, but here's a really good example, is like, you remember in Smash Brothers in Melee, where you had to fight, who was it, like Mewtwo, Ganondorf, and Giga Godzilla all at the same time on Final Destination? You guys remember that fight? Like, I'm going to be honest, like, this was nothing compared to that. Like, yeah, Event Match 1, I remember, I think that I had to, I'm pretty sure I had to resort to just using Jigglypuff. Because I could not do it as Roy. I couldn't do it as Link. Or like Samus. I remember I used Jigglypuff or something. Was it Kirby? Yeah, something like that.
back then, like even with all of these anime games and these
fight 100 bots,
Dragon Ball games that had the great ape fight, if it was too difficult, we'd just be no-lifing it until the end of the earth. I think at this point, some of us are a little bit older that getting obliterated by the same boss over and over again and it coming across a little bit unfair to say the least. All right, that
I don't think it's unfair. I really don't. I actually think that the fight, the only problem is that I think that they should have had a couple more training exercises to where the player understands how to play the game. Because I think that this is just the truth. I know people are going to disagree with this and say, I don't do that. I think this is the truth, though. Most people don't do the training mode. And I think you would have had less people bounce off of the game and get frustrated if you had a handful of fights that were leading up to, like, Raditz coming down. Or, like, in between. It would actually have made more sense in between Raditz and Vegeta. Because, like, you know, the 1 year. And so, like, if you had had a few more fights in between those two, you would have had people that have taken more time to, like, learn the mechanics and understand what's going on. And so I think you don't play Dragon Ball games? I know that. Doesn't that make my opinion important? Because, like, you'd want to have the game grow an audience and get more people involved? It's a pacing issue. Yeah, I think it's a pacing issue. Yeah, that's my point.
Set us off a little bit, but I am really curious to hear your guys' overall thoughts on the game. I've been pretty vocal. Look, I have issues with some of the stuttering on PC, and there's some other things that I'm going to talk about in future videos. I think some of the DLC they're putting out already, I mean, the Ultimate Edition was $110, and we already got more DLC content that wasn't clarified ahead of the game's release, but the other anime-published titles from Bandai Namco have done the same thing, so, you know, I still gotta complain about it because it's a reality. I wish they had cross-platform play, but the game from its essence and what it offers, if you are a lifelong Tenkaichi player and you played it as a kid...
I wonder why they don't have cross-platform play. Maybe it's a netcode issue? I don't know.
I mean, this is an absolute love letter to you. You gotta be having a great time with it. Difficulty aside, and that's something Bandai Namco might end up patching. They do offer to make it easier, so I don't think it's that big of a deal, but let me know what you guys think as far as the difficulty of the Grade 8 fight in particular. I know some of you guys are already deeper on, but let me know how the fights stack up as far as deeper into the campaign as well. And for those of you that are still on the fence about actually buying the game, and I will say that in my humble opinion that the game is absolutely awesome, and it's what Dragon Ball fans have been waiting for a long time. We've wanted a new Tenkaichi for a long time. You know, minor issues aside, like I said, the stuttering and PlayStation 5's overheating, which may be an issue with your fans, and you might need to open up your PS5 and clean it out. I'm just letting you guys know.
Years.
A lot of people clarifying that, so keep that in mind.
I should probably go check what that game is that I played back in the day. I don't even remember.
Cap off this video over at greenmangaming.com. They have got the game a little bit cheaper. 8% off, and you won't pay tax either. This is for a PC copy of the game, the deluxe edition, with the season pass and the early access, which is playable right now. And if you do want to pick up the standard edition, if you're looking to delve into it over the weekend, that is 8% off as well for $64.39.
8%,
that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon.
I'll link you guys the video.
You'll be notified.
I thought this would be funny to watch, especially considering what happened.
Keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.
Man, I really do think that, like, I think that the problem with, like, talking about difficulty in games, like, the big issue is that a lot of times when people talk about it, it's not really about whether they think it's hard. It's about whether they're good at the game or not, and, like, their ego. And I think that really it's a huge problem that I think that it makes it hard for, like, developers to be able to get good feedback from players, because everybody's giving the feedback from, like, kind of a selfish point of view. Besides Souls games, games in general have been getting a lot easier, which is frustrating. You think games have been getting easier on average? I don't know if I agree with that. I've gone back and I've played a lot of older games, and I really don't think they're as challenging as people made them out to be. I think that some of the reasons why older games were hard is that like you would have to like restart the whole game if you died or something like that. It wasn't that they were like mechanically challenging, it's that they were punishing. And I think that they were punishing because they were designed around arcade machines, and they wanted you to keep putting in quarters. But like as soon as you actually played like base games, like, you know, N64 and especially GameCube onward, I really don't think a lot of that stuff, Mega Man was really like, well, here's the thing. So like I went back and I played Super Mario RPG, and I one-shot every single boss, and then I just got to Smithy, which is the last boss, and he would one-shot my party. But like up until that point, I never had a single challenge at all in the game. They were hard because we were kids. Yeah. And also like now, it's just so hard for me to judge the difficulty of a game. And I think it's hard for anybody to, because we're always doing it in the context of like us having already played a bunch of other games. And I think that's like a huge issue. Somebody who's good at playing like random matches and like beating randoms, like you cannot qualify that against somebody who is an actual tried and tested competitive like champion. And this is going to get me into a lot of trouble. But that's the reason why Chuck Norris would, it's not even a question whether Chuck Norris would have been able to beat Bruce Lee or not. Chuck Norris, like Bruce Lee wouldn't have stood in a chance against Chuck Norris. Dude won championships. Like, I don't think people understand how good you have to be to win championships like that. Stop. Yep, that's right. That's right. Both are actors. Yeah, but one of them won championships and was an actor. Have you seen Bruce Lee fight? Have you seen Bruce Lee win have you seen him win a tournament? You see him win a tournament, a championship at all? Fucking L take. I know, you can get mad. You think Bruce Lee didn't win tournaments? Not like Chuck Norris. No. Chuck Norris was a national karate champion. I think that you guys really don't understand the skill gap between, and like you saw this too. Do you remember seeing this patriotic take? No, I'm just telling the truth. Like whenever we saw the mock Garra that like everybody did in like, what do you call it? In Classic WoW, you saw the difference between championship level players and people that were really good. They are not even in the same universe. You cannot compare people that compete in actual tournaments at the highest level to average players. And I'll give you an example of how this works. How many of you ever played a game where you were the best person in your neighborhood and you were the best person in like, you know, maybe your school at the game? Me, right? Me, of course. And you probably at one point, for me it was Halo 2. For you it might have been Counter-Strike. It could have been, you know, Smash later on. But you go in and you play a game online and you realize that you're in the bottom 20%. And you were still okay at the game, but you were nowhere near the level that you thought you were. You're a big fish. Yep, you're a big fish in a small pond. And you play online. No, no. And you play online. And let's say you play and you get better at the game for a year. And you go back and you play your friends that didn't play online. And it's like playing against bots. It's like they're like, they don't even, it's like they're just standing, so they're not even doing anything. Your characters go, yeah, you would go from like going, you know, beating somebody like 15 to 25, and now you're beating them 25 to 2. Because like the more people that you compete against and the higher level that you compete on, the better you become as a player. And do you know who did that a lot? Is Goku. Goku went around competing and fighting against all of the most powerful beings in the universe because Goku knew that in order to become more powerful, he had to fight somebody that was as powerful as they possibly could be.